Hello and welcome to our election special show, India Votes 2019. I am Vishal Dahiya, and today we will be looking at the state of Punjab, specifically at the 7 seats of Amritsar, Bathinda, Firozpur, Anandpur Sahib, Gurdaspur, Patiala and Sangrur. So let's begin our special Rajyanama.
सैकड़े लाख के ऊपर ये सारी बेरोजगारी इन्हों की मेहरबानी और करी जाते गल्ला अच्छे दिन आ गए क्या अच्छे दिन आ गए
कांग्रेस ने गरीबों के नाते वोट दी ते गरीबों को कुटिया ते इन नेताओं ने इस देश को लूट लिया वाहेगुरु जी दा खालसा वाहेगुरु जी दी फतेह ये नौजवानों नाल गल करदे ने चिट्टे दी गल ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆਂ ਰੰਗਲੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਰੰਗ ਚਿੱਟੇ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ
So the state of Punjab sends 13 Member of Parliaments to Lok Sabha. It is a crucial state for the Congress, the BJP, Shiromani Akali Dal combined, and especially the Aam Aadmi Party that won all its 4 Lok Sabha seats from the state in 2014.
There are 13 Lok Sabha seats and 117 assembly constituencies in Punjab. In the 2014 Lok Sabha elections, the BJP-SAD combined won 6 of the 13 seats, riding high on the Narendra Modi wave, while the Aam Aadmi Party, a virtual newbie at the time, made a stellar debut winning 4 seats. The Congress won just 3. At the time, the BJP-SAD combined was in power in the state. In 2019, the situation is a little different in terms of the state government. The Congress is currently in power in Punjab and the party will be looking to capitalize the assembly election win, even as the BJP looks towards capitalizing on the nationalist sentiment on the back of the recent surgical strikes. The state Congress government will hope to reap the benefits of the recent farm loan waiver and crack down against gangsters and terror modules in the state. Among the major issues in the state are better employment opportunities, agriculture loan availability and higher price realization for farm products and better healthcare. Voting in Punjab will be held in a single phase on 19th May.
Okay, so there it is. You saw as far as the state of Punjab is concerned. Let's bring in our 2 panelists here in the studios with us. Let me introduce them to you, beginning JATIN Gandhi, a senior journalist, and Mr. AJAY BANERJEE as well, another senior journalist, both of whom have kept a close watch on the political developments in the state of Punjab. For our viewers' sake, and just to make it a little more clear, JATIN, what exactly is at stake as far as the state of Punjab is concerned, and what's the difference between 2014 and 2019 election?
You see 13 seats at stake, first of all. And then it always used to be, a 2-cornered contest in Punjab. It was the NDA, which was the Akali Dal and the BJP on one side, BJP being the junior partner and the Congress. But the last time around, the Aam Aadmi Party emerged on the scene. And suddenly this party, which won no seats anywhere else in the country, it won 4 seats in Punjab. So it showed Punjab electorate's propensity towards, experimentation, towards accepting and trying new things. Now what has happened is that the Aam Aadmi Party is, it's losing its sheen. Some of its MLAs have left. Some of its leaders have formed new parties. So there is a congregation now of, people who left the Aam Aadmi Party like Sukhpal Singh Khera and, people like Dharmveer Gandhi, who is the sitting Patiala MP. And, all these people coming together to form another front, a democratic front. So, I'm not saying that this is one corner of the contest. However, it's a significant one. Okay. And then Aam Aadmi Party itself, how much of it remains a force is something that we will see here.
Okay.
And then in 2014 we saw that Punjab traditionally goes against what is the mood in the nation. So it remains to be seen whether it will again repeat that kind of a situation or not.
Okay, Ajay, what's your analysis to begin with as far as Punjab is concerned in terms of all the players who are there in the fray this time around?
See, first we must understand the Akali Dal, BJP, Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress all have 4 seats each at the moment. Now, where do they fall in? What happens later? That is to be seen. But when we talk about Punjab, please understand Punjab votes on very different issues. For example, I have told in the studio earlier also last week, nationalism in Punjab does not mean war with Pakistan. They may not want a war with Pakistan because they're so close to Pakistan.
It's a different connotation altogether.
For them, nationalism is a different connotation. Nationalism does not mean attack on Pakistan. So that is very clear. Please understand that in Punjab, there is also a clear divide. The NRI belt, which votes on basis of something else. The NRI belt is Jalandhar, Phagwara, Hoshiarpur. And the Majha belt that is north of the river Ravi, that is Amritsar, Gurdaspur and other areas. They vote on different issues. In the southern part, Malwa votes on totally different issues. Now, there may be one seat may have one issue, the other seat may have another issue. For example, Ludhiana, a totally urban seat, last time did not vote for Prime Minister Modi despite a Modi wave. Amritsar, again, did not vote for Mr. Modi despite a wave. But again, rural areas, Sangrur, a totally rural seat, brought back the Aam Aadmi Party or brought in the Aam Aadmi Party into parliament. They had 4 other seats. Again, rural seats, Fatehgarh Sahib, and the only so-called urban seat was Patiala, where Dr. Dharamveer Gandhi of the Aam Aadmi Party won. That again, I'm talking urban seats because Patiala and also the newer habitations of Zirakpur and Dera-Basi closer to Chandigarh.
That was a shocker for the Congress as well, Patiala.
That was a shocker for the Congress because Praneet Kaur, who is the wife of Captain Amrinder Singh and also the so-called Maharani of Patiala, lost the election to Captain Dr. Dharamveer Gandhi, who is a known doctor in Patiala. This time, the Aam Aadmi Party, as Jatin has rightly pointed out, has fitted away. Its MLAs are joining Congress Party or the Akali Dal and have formed their own parties, and they have actually broken away in Punjab.
Okay.
So I don't think the Aam Aadmi Party will be a factor other than cutting into votes, a few thousand votes of either the Akali Dal or the Congress or the BJP. One doesn't know how it will pan out, Vishal.
Okay, so quite interesting out there. In 2014, as both of you are saying, the state was equally divided between these 3 players, and this time around, it'll be really, really interesting to see whether or not Aam Aadmi Party is able to go ahead and hold its fort out there. Let's go to my colleague Tina Cha out there, and let's take a look at, a closer look rather, at some of the seats, and then we will take these seats one by one and analyze what exactly is the game plan out there by all these players. Tina, over to you.
Thank you, Vishal. So as we've been discussing, Punjab is one state which is very, very crucial for the Congress Party, the BJP-SAD alliance, as well as for the Aam Aadmi Party, because as we've told you earlier as well, and as you've been discussing in the studio, in the previous election in 2014, the state unexpectedly surged towards the newly formed party. The party won more seats than the Congress and the BJP, which are the traditional rivals in the state of Punjab. First, let me take you through the electoral history of some of the high-profile seats in Punjab this time around, beginning with the seat of Amritsar. Now, traditionally, Amritsar has been a Congress bastion. Even when there was a strong Modi wave in northern India in 2014, Amritsar elected Congress's Amrinder Singh as its MP. Pitted against Arun Jaitley, Captain Amrinder Singh won the elections with over 1 lakh votes in the last Lok Sabha elections. His vote share stood at 47.94%. Even after he vacated the seat to become the Chief Minister of Punjab, his confidant G.S. Aujla won the seat with more than 1,07,000 votes. However, in 2009, the Amritsar seat was won by Navjot Singh Sidhu, who was then in the BJP. A little over 48% votes were cast in his favour in the 2009 elections. The cricketer-turned-politician had wrested the Amritsar seat from the Congress stalwart and 6-time MP Raghunandan Lal Bhatia in the year 2004. He had registered a massive win with more than 55% votes polled in favour of the BJP. Now, in the general elections of 1999, Congress's Raghunandan Lal Bhatia emerged victorious. His vote share was a little over 50%. A year ago, in 1998, Daya Singh Sodhi of the BJP had won the seat with 56% votes. In 1996, Raghunandan Lal Bhatia was the winner. His vote share then was about 41%. Even in 1991, Raghunandan Lal Bhatia won the seat for the Congress Party, but that year, he had got more than 60% votes in his favour. In 1989, Amritsar was won by an independent candidate, Kirpal Singh. His vote share then was around 47%. 4 years ago, in the year 1985, Raghunandan Lal Bhatia had emerged victorious with 48.99% votes. Although he won the seat, his vote share came down by more than 10% this time. As in the elections in 1980, Raghunandan Lal Bhatia got 59.48% votes and won the seat by a huge margin. In 1977, the Amritsar seat went to the BLD. Its candidate Baldev Prakash registered a win with nearly 50% votes amid the Janata wave that swept the country that time. It was the first time in independent India, remember, that a government was formed without the Indian National Congress at the helm. Now this time, the BJP has fielded Union Urban Development Minister Hardeep Puri from the high-profile Amritsar seat to take on sitting Member of Parliament Gurjit Singh Aujla. Going by the results of the assembly elections, in which the Congress won 8 out of the 9 constituencies in Amritsar, wresting this seat from the Grand Old Party will of course be an uphill task for the BJP. Let's now talk about another keenly watched seat in Punjab, that of Bathinda. So while Amritsar is considered to be a Congress bastion, the seat of Bathinda is a stronghold of the Akali Dal. The party has won the seat 8 times since 1977. Union Minister Harsimrat Kaur Badal is seeking to retain the parliamentary constituency for the 3rd time. She had won the seat in 2014 with 43.74% votes. 5 years ago in the 2009 general elections, her vote share was more than 50%, and that year also she was the winner. Even in 2004, the seat was represented by Shiromani Akali Dal in parliament. Then party candidate Paramjit Kaur Gulshan won the seat with 42% votes. Although in the year 1999, when the NDA formed the government at the centre, the SAD lost the Bathinda seat to CPI, whose candidate Bhan Singh Bhora won with 50% votes. JATIN Singh Sama of the SAD had won the seat for the party in 1998, and his vote share then was 53%. In 1996 elections as well, the seat was won by SAD leader Harinder Singh Khalsa, who had won the election with 44% votes. The Congress party wrested the Bathinda seat from the Shiromani Akali Dal in 1991. Keval Singh of the Congress party emerged victorious with 43.69% votes in that year. And 2 years ago in 1989, Shiromani Akali Dal Sucha Singh won with 53% votes. Through his win, the party saw an increase in its vote share by about 7%. In 1985, Akali Dal's vote share in Bathinda was 46%. The seat had been won by Teja Singh Dardi. Congress party's first win in Bathinda was way back in 1980 when Hakam Singh of Congress I won the seat with 40.93% votes being polled in his favour. He had wrested the seat from the Shiromani Akali Dal, which had won the seat in 1977. In that year, when the BLD won big across large parts of the country, the Shiromani Akali Dal managed to win the Bathinda seat. Party leader Dhanna Singh polled 61.83% votes in his favour. This time, incumbent MP Harsimrat Kaur Badal faces challenge from Congress's Amrinder Singh Rajawaring and Aam Aadmi Party's Baljinder Kaur. Moving on to the election history of another parliamentary constituency that has garnered a lot of attention in Punjab in these elections, Firozpur. Now, this is a keenly watched affair here because former Deputy Chief Minister and Shiromani Akali Dal President Sukhbir Singh Badal is contesting the Lok Sabha elections from this border constituency this time. This seat is also considered to be an Akali stronghold just like Bathinda. Since 1977, the Akali Dal has won the seat 6 times. In the previous general elections in 2014, Sher Singh Gubia won the seat for the Shiromani Akali Dal with 44.14% votes. He had won the seat even in 2009 with 47% votes, again on an Akali Dal ticket. In 2004, the seat was won by Zora Singh Maan, again of the Akali Dal, with 41% votes. In 1998 as well as 1999, Zora Singh was the winner and he had secured 40% votes in 1999 and 52% votes in 1998. The BSP has won Firozpur twice, in 1996 and 5 years ago in 1991. In the 1996 elections, Mohan Singh won with 36.83% votes. In 1991, he got about 34.69% votes. In the year 1989, Firozpur was won by an independent candidate, Dhyan Singh, and his vote share then stood at 30.88%. In the year 1985, Gurdial Singh Dhillon of the Congress emerged victorious with 37.98% votes. In the year 1980, Balram of Congress I secured 68.69% votes and won the seat, while 3 years ago in 1977, Mohinder Singh Sayanwala, again of the Akali Dal, won decisively with more than 87% votes being polled in his favour. Now this time, Firozpur is set again to witness an interesting electoral battle as sitting MP Sher Singh Ghubia is fighting to retain the seat, but this time on a Congress ticket. He switched sides just ahead of the elections and is now up against his former party president Sukhbir Badal. So quite a keenly watched contest on the cards in Firozpur this time, Vishal. And let me also take you through the political history of Anandpur Sahib seat in Punjab, which is one of the holiest places of the Sikhs. Now, this constituency came into existence following delimitation in 2008. The seat is witnessing a multi-cornered contest in the elections this time, with candidates of the Congress Party, the Shiromani Akali Dal, the Aam Aadmi Party, as well as the breakaway faction of Akali Dal, the Shiromani Akali Dal Taksali, besides several others in the fray. Looking at the results in Anandpur Sahib in the previous two elections, in the year 2014, Prem Singh Chandumajra won the seat with nearly 32% votes. He had defeated Ambika Soni of the Congress 5 years ago. While 10 years ago in the 2009 elections, Ravneet Singh of the Congress Party emerged victorious with 44.75% votes. Daljit Singh Cheema of the Akali Dal was the runner-up then. Now this time, Congress has fielded former Union Minister and party spokesperson Manish Tiwari from Anandpur Sahib, and he is pitted against sitting Shiromani Akali Dal MP Prem Singh Chandumajra. The Aam Aadmi Party has chosen Narinder Shergill as its candidate, while Bir Davinder Singh is contesting on SAD Taksali ticket. So of the two general elections that it has faced, Anandpur Sahib has elected the Congress ones and the Akali Dal ones. Which of these parties are going to prevail this time, or will the voters here give a chance to some other party? That is something that remains to be seen, Vishal.
Well, thank you so much, Tina, out there. So we saw how the situation is in 4 very important seats out there. So let's begin taking them one by one, and let's start with Amritsar out there, and also joining us is Mr. Virender Walia, the editor of Punjabi Jagran on Skype from Jalandhar. We'll go to him as well. But let me begin with you, Jatin. And when we look at Amritsar, you know, it is a very coveted seat, and we have had, you know, big personalities contesting elections from there. Quite a lot of issue of prestige, both for the Congress as well as the BJP, Shiromani Akali Dal combined. How do you see the situation this time around?
See, last time around, despite the fact that there was a Modi wave and the BJP went ahead and fielded Mr. Arun Jaitley from there, he lost because the Congress it fielded an even bigger candidate for Punjab, which was Captain Amritsar Singh, who did not stay on because he ultimately won the election in 2017. And now the sitting MP Sunil Jakhar, who's also the Congress chief there, he's in the fray. So this time BJP has fielded Hardeep Puri from there, thinking that because he's a Sikh, he's probably going to garner more votes. But as Ajay was saying earlier, that what happens in Punjab is that each election, so Punjab is actually 13 elections right now. It's not.
Every constituency is a different election.
Absolutely. So and Punjab does not get mesmerized by big names which are
thrown
at them from the center. It has its own politics, and it's Amritsar is very, very important because it's the Sikh temporal seat. Navjot Sidhu held sway over Amritsar.
Exactly, that's one aspect
for
to
a
the
long
Amritsar
time.
seat as well.
So if he's going to go all horns blaring into the campaign, that's definitely going to dent Mr. Puri's position. Then Sunil Jakhar's own equation within the Congress, because he's the state party chief. So it's not an easy contest.
Okay, so there are a lot of internal calculations and permutations as well. Ajay, the Sidhu aspect as far as the Amritsar Lok Sabha seat is concerned, because he won the seat from there as a BJP candidate, now is part of the Congress party, and we have had seen a lot of acrimonious exchanges between both as far as Sidhu is concerned.
See, since 2004, Amritsar has returned a Sikh candidate each time. Before 2004, there was a Hindu candidate which won, or who won Amritsar seat regularly, that was Raghulandan Lal Bhatia. But after 2004, it has been a Sikh candidate which has been returned, be it Navjot Sidhu, Amrinder Singh, or G.S. Aujla, who has won the by-election after Captain Amrinder Singh resigned and became the Chief Minister of Punjab. When we talk about Amritsar, please understand, Amritsar itself sits on the border. The issues, as I was saying earlier, are different in each constituency. You cannot see Punjab in one way. Amritsar becomes prestigious because Mr. Hardeep Puri, the Union Urban Affairs Minister, is there contesting there against Mr. G.S. Aujla, who is a sitting MP. Mr. Aujla belongs to the Jat Sikh community. Mr. Puri belongs to the Khatri Sikh community. These are two divides between the Sikh communities. Mr. Aujla would be banking on the appeal of Amrinder Singh and also the fact that the Punjab government, state government in Punjab, is Congress run and has got 3 years more to go. That could be a major factor for people going out to vote, and especially the local level or the lower level leaders, the sarpanchis, the municipal corporation people, who would have little works to get it done from the MP. They would probably be swayed more towards the ruling alliance at the state, which has had 3 years more to go in the state.
Okay.
That is one aspect how I see Amritsar.
Okay. So you know, it's...
Make a small correction here.
Yeah, you mentioned Jagran. It is not Jagran. Jagran is Gurdaspur versus you know, the new entrant from the BJP. So we'll talk about that as well, and we'll come to that aspect. But let's bring in Mr. Walia here. Mr. Walia, we're talking about Amritsar Lok Sabha constituency here. From your point of view, what exactly is at stake for all these three, you know, candidates specifically, and you know, for the BJP, it's the sitting minister, the Union Minister for Urban Development, and the Congress has its own sitting MP from there.
This is very prestigious election so far as Amritsar is concerned, because Amritsar is the holiest place for the Sikhs and it has the highest temporal seat of the Sikhs as well. लेकिन ऐसा है कि अमृतसर के जो लोग हैं, जो बीइंग ए बॉर्डर डिस्ट्रिक्ट, तो इनका जैसे कहते हैं, जैसे अजय बैनर्जी ने कहा कि इनका डीएनए डिफरेंट है. दे बिहेव इन ए डिफरेंट वे, दे आर वेरी एग्रेसिव बाय नेचर. तो ऐसा है कि बेसिकली ये, क्योंकि ये सिख डोमिनेटेड एरिया था, ठीक ना, और है भी, लेकिन यहाँ से ज़्यादातर हिंदू कैंडिडेट जीते आए हैं. जो फर्स्ट इलेक्शन जीती थी वो था जो कि गैली गुरबख्श सिंह मुसाफर. ही वाज द फॉर्मर जथेदार ऑफ अकाल तख्त, द हाईएस्ट टेम्परल सीट ऑफ द सिख्स. और उन्होंने जब 52 में जीती, सेकंड इलेक्शन भी उन्होंने जीती, लेकिन उसके बाद जो हिंदू कैंडिडेट वो लगातार जीते आए हैं. लेकिन जब भी कोई सिख कैंडिडेट हिंदू कैंडिडेट के मुकाबले होता है तो फिर वो जीता आया. जैसे दया सिंह सोढ़ी हैं, वो बीजेपी के कैंडिडेट जब 1998 में बने तो जगह ही वाज द इलेक्शन, लेकिन उसके बाद फिर जो आर.एल. भाटिया है वो जीतते रहे हैं. 1984 में भी जब ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार हुआ और दिल्ली राइट्स, इवन आफ्टर दैट मिस्टर आर.एल. भाटिया वन द इलेक्शन. अर्लियर हिज एल्डर ब्रदर दुर्गादास भाटिया वन द इलेक्शन. लेकिन जब जाट सिख आ जाते, जैसे सिद्धू है, ही इज अ जाट सिख, जी.एस. औजला इज आल्सो ए जाट सिख, लेकिन उनके अगेंस्ट जो पूरी इलेक्शन कंटेस्ट कर रहे हैं वो खतरी है, जैसे उन्होंने पहले भी कहा है. और ऐसा है कि इनके जो स्टेक्स हैं वो बहुत हाई हैं इस टाइम, क्योंकि कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह की गवर्नमेंट है, वो कांग्रेस की गवर्नमेंट है. डिस्पाइट द एंटी इनकम्बेंसी जो वेव चल रही है, उसके बावजूद मिस्टर पुरी के लिए काफ़ी मुश्किलें आने वाली है. उसका रीज़न है कि अकाली दल इज ए डिवाइडेड हाउस नाउ. जो रतन सिंह अजनाला है, जो फॉर्मर मेंबर पार्लियामेंट है, वो ही हैज लेफ्ट द अकाली दल एंड ही हैज जॉइंड द अकाली दल टकसाली. तो उसके बाद जो रणीके है, गुलजार सिंह रणीके, ही इज ए फॉर्मर अकाली मिनिस्टर, तो उनको फरीदकोट के लिए भेज दिया गया. उनको ही विल बी कंटेस्टिंग एज एसएडी कैंडिडेट फ्रॉम फरीदकोट. तो उसके बाद जो रतन सिंह अजनाला भी आ गए, और लेकर बिक्रम सिंह मजीठिया है, he is brother-in-law of Sukhbir Singh Badal and brother of Harsimrat Badal. वो बठिंडा में कैंपेन कर रहे हैं. इसलिए ये काफी मुश्किल लग रहा है जैसे बीजेपी कैंडिडेट के लिए. जो श्वेत मलिक है, जो स्टेट बीजेपी प्रेसिडेंट है, लेकिन विशाल ऐसा है कि उनका वो ही इज नॉट ए ग्रास रूट लीडर. उनकी प्रॉब्लम है ही लॉस्ट द काउंसलर्स इलेक्शन इवन।
जी वालिया
तो
साहब, आपने अमृतसर के बारे में बताया। अमृतसर में काफी दिलचस्प मुकाबला है, जिस तरह से आप बता रहे हैं अलग अलग उम्मीदवार के बारे में भी, और किस तरह से जो इंटरनल इक्वेशन है अलग अलग पार्टी के। लेकिन भटिंडा की आपने बात की कई बार, और शिरोमणि अकाली दल के कई बड़े नेताओं की बात की, तो शिरोमणि अकाली दल के लिए जो भटिंडा सीट है वो काफी महत्वपूर्ण हो जाती है। भटिंडा को किस तरह से देखते हैं आप?
बठिंडा ऐसा है जी, क्योंकि जितनी भी पंजाब की गवर्नमेंट बनती आई हैं वो बठिंडा से, क्योंकि 67 असेंबली सीट है वहाँ, तो जो भी पंजाब की सरकार बनती रही है आफ्टर प्रताप सिंह कह रहा हूँ वो मालवा रीजन से बनती रही है, और बठिंडा इज द हार्टलैंड ऑफ मालवा रीजन जी। और जो बादल का गांव है, जो सेस्टर विलेज ऑफ प्रकाश सिंह बादल इज ओनली 28 किलोमीटर फ्रॉम बठिंडा, और बठिंडा की ऐसी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी है क्योंकि यहाँ पंथ और ग्रंथ का मसला जो आता है, क्योंकि पंथ एंड ग्रंथ यूज्ड टू बी स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ श्रोमणी अकाली दल एंड इट इज कंसिडर्ड एज ए पंथक सीट। यहाँ से जैसे सुच्चा सिंह जो मलुआ है, ही इज फादर ऑफ बेअंत सिंह हु वर असैसिन ऑफ मिसेस इंदिरा गांधी जी। वो भी क्योंकि आउटसाइडर होने के बावजूद वहां से वो जीत गए, अच्छी उन्होंने उनको वोट्स वगैरह पड़ी थी जी। और हरिंदर सिंह खालसा है जो फॉर्मर IFS ऑफिसर है, वो भी वहां से जीत गए, वो भी आउटसाइडर थे। मेरा कहने का मतलब है कि वो जो बठिंडा सीट है अकाली दल का, क्योंकि वो हार्टलैंड है, वहां से अकाली दल का इतना प्रेस्टीज इशू बना हुआ है, क्योंकि मनप्रीत बादल और बादल फैमिली जो स्प्लिट हुई है, उनका फैमिली फ्यूड है जी। वो नहीं चाहता कि वो कोई जो भी जीता तो फिर उनका जो डोमिनेंस होगी, परिवार की भी डोमिनेंस होगी, इसलिए जो बादल फैमिली का फ्यूड है वो भी सामने आ रहा है। इसलिए मनप्रीत बादल who lost the election
जी वालिया साहब
to हर्षिमरत बादल लास्ट टाइम
जी
तो वोट से वो मेरे ख्याल में 2% वोट्स का वो डिफरेंस होगा, वो लास्ट टाइम वो डिफीट हुए। लेकिन अब उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं मैं नहीं कंटेस्ट करना, क्योंकि शायद वो चाहते होंगे कि भी ऐसा ना हो कि मैं दोबारा भी लॉस्ट हो जाऊं। तो लेकिन
जी तो वाले साहब बिल्कुल जिस तरह से आप आंकड़े बता रहे हैं, काफी दिलचस्प मुकाबला भटिंडा में भी है। और जतिन, आई वुड लाइक टू ब्रिंग यू इन हियर एज Mr. Virender Walia was pointing out, Bathinda is again a prestigious seat as far as Shiromani Akali Dal is concerned. It's their heartland. It's at the heart of Malwa region as well. So it's quite politically significant for them as well to go ahead and hold that particular seat if it has to look at the future politics, specifically the state level politics as well.
See, one thing is that the candidate from there, she's the sitting MP, she's a cabinet minister, so she's also the wife of Sukhbir Singh Badal,
she's part of
and
the family.
And the daughter-in-law of Prakash Singh Badal. So her husband is contesting from the nearby seat Firozpur. So the Akali Dal and within the Akali Dal, the Badal family would definitely be focusing very hard on these two seats. It's a prestige issue. They do not want to lose these seats for the simple reason that what is left now of the Akali Dal, I mean after the decimation in 2000 and after the decimation in 2017, the fact is that they want to, there are very senior leaders like Ranjit Singh Brahmpura and all, the entire bunch of leaders who left and formed their own Akali Dal, the SAD Taksali. So it's a fight for survival for the family within the Akali Dal and in Punjab politics.
And in Punjab politics for Shiromani Akali Dal as well. It's going to be really important. Ajay, not only the parliamentary constituency of Bathinda, but Firozpur as well, as Jatin was pointing out. Firozpur is the former Deputy Chief Minister is also contesting from there. So it's going to be a significant, both of these seats are going to be significant.
See, Firozpur is a tough seat to contest. The sitting MP, Sher Singh Khubaya, who was in the Akali Dal, has now joined the Congress. Belongs to a Rai Sikh community. Rai Sikh community is a specific small community within the Sikhs. Mr. Sukhbir Badal is contesting against him. So, Firozpur is a very strange demographic, because in the southern part of Firozpur, that is Fazilka, Bohor and other areas, the population of Jats, I mean the Jats, which is like Mr. Sunil Jakhad is from Fazilka and Bohor. That community also holds a lot of sway in Firozpur. Northern part of Firozpur is Jat Sikh dominated. There is a pocket of Brahmins and Hindus, the Rai Sikhs, which Mr. Khubaya belongs to. Mr. Badal, Sukhbir Badal will is a very good candidate out in Firozpur because he has won the Firozpur assembly seat once, Jalalabad assembly seat once, and that falls in the Firozpur parliamentary constituency. Vishal, it will be a prestigious seat for Mr. Sukhbir Badal. Sher Singh Kubaya can give him a tough fight, but I think Mr. Badal has the upper hand in Firozpur.
Okay, so that's going to be really interesting to see as to what exactly happens as far as Firozpur is concerned, in addition to Bathinda, because these are going to be two very crucial and very important seats for Shiromani Akali Dal. We'll take a short break here, but when we come back, we will talk to our guests from Punjab on these two seats and other remaining important seats as well. Stay tuned.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
One of the greatest exponents of Carnatic music, MS Subbalakshmi or MS to her fans. An icon even to a younger generation brought up on fusion and rock music. MS is the first musician ever to be awarded the Bharat Ratna, also the first Indian musician to receive the Raymond Magsaysay Award. As India's cultural ambassador, she also performed at the UN General Assembly in 1966. Former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru once said of MS, "Who am I, a mere Prime Minister, before a queen of music?"
Welcome back. So we're talking about Punjab today, and we have had a chat on important seats like Amritsar, Bathinda and Firozpur. Let's look at some more seats, and before we go ahead, let's take a look at what has happened in the past on these important seats like Gurdaspur and Patiala as well. And for that, let's go to my colleague Tina. Tina, over to you.
Thank you, Vishal, and welcome back to the Election Data Center. So let me take you through the electoral history of two more significant and high-profile seats in Punjab, that of Gurdaspur and Patiala. The Gurdaspur Lok Sabha constituency, where the BJP has fielded actor Sunny Deol as its candidate, is hoping that his popularity will wrest power back from the Congress. Let's look at what the previous results say about this seat. In the 2014 election, the seat was won by Vinod Khanna, the Bollywood actor, who was also a BJP veteran by then, having already been a member of parliament from this seat 3 times. He polled 46.25% of the votes then. In the year 2009, the seat had gone to the Congress party. Pratap Singh Bajwa had won, polling 48% of the votes in the constituency. Bajwa, in fact, is the current sitting MP from Gurdaspur after he won the by-election held in 2017 following the death of Vinod Khanna. However, Bajwa's 2009 win had come on the back of 3 consecutive terms for Vinod Khanna. Fighting on a BJP ticket, Khanna had won in 2004, 1999 and also in 1998, averaging 50% of the total votes polled in the region. Before Vinod Khanna began his winning spree, Gurdaspur had been a Congress seat for several years. Sukhbans Kaur won the seat for the Congress in 1996, 1991 as well as 1989. Sukhbans Kaur also won from Gurdaspur a total of 5 times in 1985 and 1980, with the latter being the first time that she had won. In 1977, the seat had been won by Yagya Dutt of the Bharatiya Lok Dal. Dutt polled nearly 51% of the votes polled in Gurdaspur. Remember, 1977 was the first time in independent India that a government was formed without the Indian National Congress. Talking now about Patiala, where battle royal is in the offing as Congress pushes hard to reclaim its old citadel. Before the Aam Aadmi Party came into the picture, Patiala had sent Congress's Praneeth Kaur to Parliament 3 consecutive times. In 2014, Praneeth Kaur lost to Aam Aadmi Party's Dr. Dharamveer Gandhi by over 20,000 votes. Gandhi had won over 32% of the vote share last time. Now this time, Dr. Gandhi is contesting once again, but on the ticket of his own party, the Navan Punjab Party, which he floated after being ousted from the Aam Aadmi Party. A decade ago in 2009, Praneeth Kaur had won Patiala with more than 50% of the votes polled in her favour. Praneeth Kaur had won the previous 2 elections in 2004 as well as in 1999 with over 46% of the votes polled in her favour on both these occasions. However, in 1998, the seat had been won by Prem Singh Chandumadra of the Shiromani Akali Dal. Chandumadra's win in 1998 had been his second consecutive win. He had previously won in 1996 with a 46.47% vote share. In 1991, the seat had been won by Santram Singla of the Congress, who polled nearly 60% of the votes. An independent candidate, Atinder Pal Singh, had won the Patiala seat in 1989. In 1985, the seat was won by Charanjit Singh, again of the Akali Dal, while Amrinder Singh of the Congress won in 1980. And in 1977, the seat had gone to Shiromani Akali Dal's Gurcharan Singh Tohra. Back to you, Vishal.
Well, thank you so much, Tina, out there. So let's talk about, the other 2 important seats here. When we talk about Punjab, that's Gurdaspur and Patiala as well. Let's begin with Gurdaspur specifically, Jatin. Gurdaspur is a seat which has seen, Bollywood celebrities like Vinod Khanna winning the seats. And this time around, BJP is once again experimented with another Bollywood celebrity, Sunny Deol, out there. New entrant, new face. But do you think this might make a lot of splash out there on the ground level?
Yeah, so as I was saying that his main opponent is Sunil Jakhar, which I aired and said that Jakhar is contesting from Amritsar. The fact is that Jakhar is the state Congress chief, is the incumbent government in Punjab. This seat is also one in which Captain Amrinder Singh has personal stakes. Because Pratap Singh Bajwa, who was the MP last time around, he was, within intra-party politics of the Congress in Punjab. Bajwa was opposing him at that time, because he was the state chief. So, Captain Amrinder Singh is significantly invested here. The second thing is that Vinod Khanna had a connect with the people there. That's why he could win multiple times. I don't know if Sunny Deol can repeat that because he does not seem to have a connect. He has star appeal, but beyond star appeal, like Sidhu has star appeal, but people of Punjab or people of the Majha, they also look for a connect beyond star appeal. So beyond Sidhu did work very hard on his politics and on his speeches, etc., and his oratory and the issues that he raised. So if Sunny Deol is only going to go there and speak his dialogues out for the people, Bhagwant Mann, for instance, who won from Sangrur last time, he was a comedian. But when he went into the thick of politics, then he was a politician. He was a better orator than a lot of politicians who were contesting the election. Okay,
so you need to go ahead and make that connect with the people as well. Ajay, what's your take and analysis as Gurdaspur is concerned?
Before I go into it, Vishal, I'll like to explain to our viewers one little thing. 1998 or 99, I still remember vividly, I was then posted in Punjab. Mr. Vinod Khanna went to contest elections. Keep in mind, we are talking 20 years ago, and just 3 years prior to that, the Chief Minister of Punjab had been killed in a bomb blast. Mr. Byan Singh had been killed in 1995. Punjab was just coming out of terrorism when Mr. Vinod Khanna was brought in from Bombay into Gurdaspur to contest elections, and he defeated a 5-time sitting MP, Mrs. Bhinder from the Congress. As Jatin has rightly pointed out, Vinod Khanna did a lot of hard work on his politics. First in the Bajpayee government, then in the opposition, and then again as a sitting MP in the Modi government. Sunny Deol has gone there. Jakhar is a very strong candidate because, see, keep in mind, Gurdaspur has got dominant Hindu pockets and also pockets of Rajputs. So these people may vote for the BJP entirely in the Modi wave, as I pointed out earlier in the program also. Nationalism in these border districts does not mean an attack on Pakistan. That has to be understood very vividly. And please keep in mind, Pathankot is part of the Gurdaspur district. The Gurdaspur in the days of dark days of terrorism in Punjab was the hotbed of terrorism. Dera Baba Nanak and Batala are part of this.
These were all
Yes.
names which were quite often heard out there.
And today Gurdaspur has turned around. The Ravi flows through Gurdaspur. It is a very important aspect. A dam has come up. People are back to farming and their normal lives after terrorism. Pathankot is a vibrant town which has now become a municipal corporation. It is also the gateway to the famous shrine of Vaishno Devi in Jammu Kashmir, and also the road route into Jammu Kashmir. So Gurdaspur is very vital strategically, and Gurdaspur is very vital for the Congress, for the pride and prestige of Sunil Jakhar, who is the head of the Punjab Pradesh Congress Committee, and Sunny Deol, who is brought in from Bombay.
Head of the state unit out there, facing a prominent known Bollywood star. Quite a fight out there. Let's bring in Mr. Virender Pramod from Punjab. He's joining us on Skype. Mr. Pramod, we're talking about the Gurdaspur Lok Sabha constituency. Quite a contest out there. What is your analysis and take on this particular seat?
However, it was not on my kitty, but whereas I am of the opinion that Modi wave is there. There is a strong undercurrent in that constituency also. One may or may not agree. That is a separate issue. Number two, whereas this man is concerned, he belongs to Ludhiana. He is a Sanewal, very near to Ludhiana, this Dole, Sunny Dole. And I think he will fare well. He will do better than others.
Okay. And the other important seat, Mr. Pramod, when we are talking about the Congress's prestige and the seats which are important for them, is the other seat, that's the Patiala seat, where, the Congress would definitely like to go ahead and reclaim it.
Definitely, whereas at this time, there are 4 candidates in contesting from Patiala. Praneet Kaur, a two-time MP.
Please go on.
An Akali Dal candidate and Dharamveer Gandhi, sitting MP.
Okay.
Whereas Dharamveer Gandhi is concerned, however, he was disqualified he was suspended from the Aam Aadmi Party. But still, he is popular among the masses. It is not a gone case like others in Punjab. And I am of the opinion that there will be a triangular fight in Patiala between Praneet Kaur, Maharani Patiala, Sujit Singh Rakhada and Dharamveer Gandhi.
Okay. And what about another seat when we are talking about, the seats for Congress, specifically the Anandpur Sahib seat, where we have another, old Congress leader trying his luck this time around?
Whereas Anandpur Sahib constituency is concerned, 2 stalwarts, rather 3 stalwarts are contesting from that. Whereas Chandu Majra, Prem Singh Chandu Majra, who has defeated Maharani Patiala twice, in 1996 and 1998 from Patiala, and last time he defeated from Anandpur Sahib, Ambika Soni, General Secretary of the Punjab of the All India Congress Party, and this time he is contesting from the second time from Anandpur Sahib. And his main competitor is Manish Tiwari, another stalwart from the Congress Party.
Okay, so quite interesting.
Manish Tiwari is concerned, he's a force to reckon with.
Okay, quite an interesting contest out there, Mr. Pramod. Thank you in all these 3 constituencies. And Jatin, talking about Anandpur Sahib seat and Patiala seat, equally important from the Congress's point of view, the ruling party out there, because these were the seats which it lost in 2014.
You see, first of all, in Anandpur Sahib, Prem Singh Chandu Majra is the sitting MP there. And Manish is, Manish did not contest the last time because he said he refused a party ticket or he said he would not be in the fray because he had some ailment. And he was the Ludhiana sitting MP at that point of time in the last election. And then now he's coming, into the fray from a new seat. So he's a rookie there in that sense.
Okay.
So that's what happened with, Ambika Soni the last time around. She was not from that seat. She got that seat. She got the ticket, she contested, and she lost to Chandu Majra.
Okay.
Chandu Majra is considered some sort of a giant killer, just like Dharamveer Gandhi in Patiala is, because Chandu Majra being, once upon a time he contested the SAD on the SAD ticket from, the Rajpura constituency, which is a Vidhan Sabha constituency. So the tough fight is between Manish and Prem Singh Chandu Majra, but Mr. Chandu Majra might have had the edge, except for the fact that there was 10 years of anti-incumbency against the Akali government.
Okay.
And Mr. Chandu Majra has, over the years, he's risen in rank in the Akali Dal. So we need to see whether he will bear the brunt of it, and whether Manish will get the benefit of the Captain Amritsar Singh government in power there.
Okay. And what about Patiala?
Patiala again, Dr. Dharamveer Gandhi, very strong candidate. He won the election from again another giant killer. First time he contested on an AAP ticket. This time he is contesting on his own party's ticket, which is the Punjab Front. He's a very interesting man. He's a cardiologist, but he's also a socialist. So when he was here in Parliament, he raised some very vital issues, about Punjab, which even the Congress and the Akali Dal would not do.
Okay.
And then he would sometimes, there were pictures of his captured on, in the newspapers also.
Okay.
During the break, he would sleep on the grass. So he's a man actually of the grassroots. This time around, what he's doing in Patiala, he's crowdsourcing funding for his election.
Okay.
So
that would be interesting.
Yeah. So he's taking 10 rupees from a rickshawala and asking him to contribute so that he can fight an election.
Sure.
I don't think if somebody pays 10 rupees to a person, they are not going to vote.
Okay. But Dharamveer Gandhi contesting on his own out there might be a big loss electorally for Aam Aadmi Party because they would have been a much better position.
Not just Dharamveer Gandhi, even Harinder Singh Khalsa, he moved out of the sitting MP.
Okay.
So they had 4 MPs. Two of them were estranged very early on. In this
that's going to be interesting aspect out there. Ajay, on these 2 seats, Anandpur Sahib, as Jatin was pointing out, is there, you believe, sort of a miscalculation again from the Congress side? Because in 2014, they brought in Ambika Soni, who had to change her seat. And this time around, it's Manish Tiwari who would come in from Ludhiana to Anandpur Sahib this time.
No offense meant to Miss Ambika Soni. She left Punjab around 40 years ago. Manish Tiwari is son of the soil. He has studied in Punjab University. He's lived all his life in Chandigarh. Mohali, abutting Chandigarh, the famous Mohali cricket ground is in Mohali. Manish is studied in Chandigarh, has studied in Punjab University, knows the area very well. And crucially, on the basis of facts, the demographic profile of Anandpur Sahib has changed in the past few years. Why? Okay. Because Mohali has become an IT hub. A lot of people from outside the country, outside the state, and also other parts of Punjab have settled down in Mohali. Now, they are also youngsters who work in the IT industry. They are also service providers in the new upcoming international airport. There are also people who work in the industry in close by in Baddi and the belt in Himachal Pradesh. So, Prem Singh Chandu Majra, a very strong candidate. Manish is up for a tough fight, but I think it is a very razor's edge fight. In Patiala, I think Maharani Praneeth Kaur will have a tough fight or tough in getting back a seat in Patiala because Dharamveer Gandhi will cut the same number of votes which will probably go to the Congress. Surjit Singh Rakhda of the Akali Dal is a hardcore Akali man, is a very rich man actually, and the traditional Akali vote will gravitate towards him. But Rani Praneeth Kaur, Mrs. Praneeth Kaur will have a tough competition with Gandhi and Rakhda.
Okay, so as both Jatin and Ajay are pointing out, it's going to be a tough way ahead for the Congress's candidates, specifically in the seat of Patiala, which it would definitely want to go ahead and reclaim. Let's take a look at another seat, an important one in the state of Punjab, that is Sangrur. And for the facts and figures of that particular seat, let's go to my colleague Tina once again. Tina?
See, Vishal, the contest here in Sangrur also is going to be keenly watched this time because this seat had been won by the Aam Aadmi Party among the 4 seats that they won back in 2014. Now, the Sangrur Parliamentary Constituency is one of the 13 Lok Sabha seats in Punjab that has never been under one party for a very long period of time. Out of 15 elections that have been held here, the Shiromani Akali Dal has won 5 and the Congress 4 times. Former Chief Minister and Akali Dal veteran Surjit Singh Barnala was the only leader to be elected thrice in Sangrur in 1977, 96 and then in 1998. In 2014, the seat was won by Bhagwant Mann, who beat Sukhdev Singh Dhinsa, securing 48.5% of the votes polled. The Arvind Kejriwal-led Aam Aadmi Party has fielded Bhagwant Mann once again this year from Sangrur. A decade ago, in 2009, the seat had belonged to the Congress party. Vijay Inder Singla won the seat, polling 38.52% of the total votes polled. In 2004, Sangrur sent Shiromani Akali Dal Sukhdev Singh Dhinsa to Parliament with 34% of the total votes polled. 5 years earlier, in 1999, Simranjit Singh Mann won the seat on the SAD breakaway party, SAD-M, that he had formed earlier. A year ago, in 1998, SAD's Surjit Singh Barnala won Sangrur with over 40% votes being polled in his favour. Barnala had won the seat in 1996 as well. Congress's Gurcharan Singh Dadahur had won in Sangrur in 1991, polling 44.33% of the votes in his favour. In 1989 as well, Simranjit Singh Mann's SAD-M had won from the seat. Rajiv Singh of the party had won that year. In 1985, the seat was won by Shiromani Akali Dal's Balwant Singh Ramuwalia. 5 years earlier, in 1980, Congress's Gurcharan Singh had won from Sangrur. In 1977 as well, Surjit Singh Barnala of the Shiromani Akali Dal had won from the Sangrur seat. Vishal.
Well, thank you so much, Tina, out there for all these details on the Sangrur seat. And let's go across to our guest, Mr. I.P. Singh, the Assistant Editor of Times of India out there on the Sangrur seat specifically. Mr. Singh, if you look at the demography of Sangrur as well as the electoral history out there, quite an important seat this time around, and interesting to see whether or not Aam Aadmi Party will be able to hold the fort.
Bhagwant Mann has a very uphill task before him, though he won the seat in 2014 with highest margin in the state with over 2 lakh votes. And we should never forget that it was Sukhdev Singh Dhinsa, the senior Akali man, one of the senior most Akali leaders, who was fighting on Akali Dal ticket. And sitting MP at that time, Vijayender Singla, who had won in 1999, he just could save his security deposit with just 17% votes. But in the last 5 years, when there was not much organization of AAP in Punjab, AAP had that perception in its favor. But in the last 5 years, especially after it had started losing the perception in 2016. And that's why even as its Delhi-based leaders or strategists, they were claiming that they could get even 100 seats. But at the end of the day, in 2017, they could secure just 20 seats.
Okay.
And Bhagwant Mann had to bear the brunt of that loss in the state. Now he is, he's the incumbent MP, so there is an element of anti-incumbency factor for him also. One. Second, Sangrur is very prestigious for Chief Minister Captain Amritsar Singh, as this seat has been given to his confidant, Mr. Keval Singh Dhillon. We are told that Captain Amritsar Singh lobbied a lot for Mr. Dhillon to get the ticket. But he has to improve from 17% vote share of 2014.
So it's going to be really interesting as far as Sangrur is concerned. Mr. Singh, thank you out there. Jatin, as Mr. Singh was pointing out, Sangrur again, a seat where Captain Amritsar Singh is invested a lot. And if you look at Aam Aadmi Party's perspective as well, this might be Aam Aadmi Party's best bet with the sitting MP Bhagwant Mann out there. But Bhagwant Mann has been in and out of controversies quite a number of times.
So Bhagwant Mann must be the Aam Aadmi Party's strongest candidate. However, the Aam Aadmi Party itself is not strong enough. They came down from a position of 4 seats in the last Lok Sabha to about 22 seats in the 2017 assembly election. 20 seats of their own and 2 of their ally, the Lok Insaf Party. Now the Lok Insaf Party is no longer with them. It's part of the Punjab Democratic Alliance. In which Dharamveer Gandhi is also there and Khera and all. So the decimation of the Aam Aadmi Party, first from 2014 to 17 they were very strong contenders. No doubt they performed well. They did not obviously perform as well as they did in Delhi. But they did perform good enough to trump the Akali Dal and become the main opposition party there. However, after that, their decline has still continued. Now, I mean, a couple of MLAs have left them in the very recent past. In this year itself, at least 2 or 3 MLAs have left them. So that is the status of this. So Bhagwant Mann has to bear the brunt of all this, plus the anti-incumbency himself. plus his controversies.
Okay. Quickly, to sum up, Ajay, as far as specifically Sangrur is concerned.
Sangrur becomes prestigious because Mr. Keval Dhillon is one of the richest men of Punjab. He holds the bottling license of a major soft drinks manufacturer, an American soft drink manufacturer for Punjab. So Mr. Dhillon holds the money bag. Mr. Bhagwant Mann goes with his comedian, hard-worked politician image.
Okay.
And I think there's a tough fight between... Congress will face a tough fight in getting this seat back.
Okay.
That is my analysis.
Okay.
also.
Again, very interesting contest on the cards out there in Sangrur seat as well. So there it is. All the main contests in the state of Punjab. We'll come back again tomorrow with a different state and analyze the political equations, permutations and combinations out there on the ground. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.